And I think it is time to go ahead and get started. Hey, my name is Coach James, and I am the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics and the host of AtTheTrack.live, and I'd like to welcome you to this special Sunday edition. Usually AtTheTrack.live takes place on Saturday mornings, but something came up yesterday, and I'll get into that in a moment. But as I mentioned, I am the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics. What is All About Aerodynamics, you ask? Even if you didn't ask, I'm going to tell you. All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about physics, about aerodynamics, about a whole range of topics, about drag, about lift, about Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, about kinetic energy, about potential energy, about elastic energy, about a whole range of topics. And if you'd like more information on any of those topics and about our classes, about our presentations, about our special assemblies, all you have to do is go to our website, aaerodynamics.com, and you can find out more about all of our offerings for students. And you can also find out about our online, the online version of All About Aerodynamics, which is going to be something that we are developing and is going to be coming this summer. Is going to be, we're going to start to promote it, and it's going to be available, if everything goes according to plan, via OutSchool. Is it OutSchool? I think it's OutSchool. It's an online platform where students can take a range of classes, and All About Aerodynamics will soon be one of those classes. Again, if everything lines up the way that I expect it to. So that is something that's coming up. But right now, it's not about All About Aerodynamics. It's AtTheTrack.live. So what is AtTheTrack.live? Well, with All About Aerodynamics, I take hundreds of Hot Wheels cars to the schools for the students to choose from. Why are they choosing cars? Because after I've taught them all of the physics and science lessons, they have the opportunity to pick a car that they think would be fastest in a series of races, and they choose the car based on everything they've learned about aerodynamics and about physics and drag and energy and lift and all of that. And then they set up a 20-foot 1/64 quarter mile scale drag race strip, and we have a tournament, and they race their cars, and they observe how their cars perform. Did their cars perform up to or below their expectations? And based on those results and their observations, they determine whether or not they would choose that car again if given the opportunity. So I went yesterday to actually go see real live drag races. I went to the NHRA, the National Hot Rod Association's Winternationals event that was taking place in Pomona, California here. And it actually has been going on, I believe, Friday, and then yesterday, and then today is the final event. And it was incredible. I've seen drag racing on TV, and if you have a Samsung TV, there's a little option for that you can select. If you have a Samsung branded TV, in the menu, there is an option for Samsung TV, and if you press that, a whole range of channels come up. So there's channels that are specifically related to home improvement shows or reality shows or music programming, or there's a Baywatch channel. There is a Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares channel. Well, there's also an NHRA channel that pretty much just shows drag races and has little mini documentaries and things like that. So I've watched that channel because, again, all about aerodynamics. We are, unlike a gravity track, we have a flat track with a launcher, and the goal is to get the cars moving as quickly as possible so that we can observe the various forces acting against the car. And the faster the cars move, the more drag is a factor, and the more that air and becomes important versus a gravity track where the cars are moving slower. Anyway, so because of the parallels, I watched the NHRA channel on TV, and I'd seen the races, and it was definitely interesting. I went yesterday, and it turns out that at the beginning of the day, rain moved in Southern California. Who would have thought rain was going to be a problem? But it was. So the rain came in. The races were supposed to start in the morning. They didn't. And we were kind of just waiting because they said, well, it was a light rain, but it was enough rain that it was making the track wet. So they have machines and blowers and things, and they were trying to dry the track off. And that went on for hours. They'd work on the track, get it dried off, and then it would rain again. So then they'd have to start the process over. And the races were supposed to begin around 9, 10 in the morning. And by 1 o'clock, it was still just the same cycle. Rain, clear the track, rain, clear the track. 1 o'clock became 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3, 4, and then eventually the rain stopped, and they announced that at 5 o'clock they would finally get moving, start having some races. So after waiting around pretty much all day, finally I got to see the races. And watching it on TV doesn't really do it justice, because when these cars come out, they do a burnout to warm up the tires or whatever, and the engines rev, and then they do the burnout. And it is, to say it's loud is an understatement. It's so loud, it vibrates. You feel it in your body, like your whole body is sort of vibrating. It's extremely loud, but it's there's like a bass to it and a tone. Like there's a very specific sound. And I've been to NASCAR events, and NASCAR events are very loud, but it's just a loud, sustained noise. So when the cars start up, very loud, but then as they're going around, it's just this sort of sustained, loud sound. NHRA, the drag races there, are not like that. With the NHRA events, it's quiet, then the cars start their engines, and then they're basically just idling, and that's loud. And then they rev the engines, do the burnout, back up, get into place, and then once the Christmas tree, the lights go to green, the cars take off, and it is extremely loud. It's loud, it rattles your body, it's crazy. But then the cars are moving so quickly that the sound, you have this feeling in the sound, and then the cars are gone, and you're watching them go down the track. And they were hitting speeds of over 300 miles an hour, and they're doing a quarter mile. So it's if you have the chance to go, I would say go. And now I don't know if you get the same sensation, because my seats were close to the starting line. So I don't know if you get the same sound and feel and sensation if you're further down the track. So I would suggest, I don't know because it was my first time going, is to get closer to the starting line. It was amazing. And because of the rain delays, I really only got to see a handful of races versus all the races they had scheduled during the day, but it was enough to make sure that when the NHRA, when they come back in, I believe, November, December, I'll be there because it's hard to put into words, and I have some video that I am going to show. And let me see if I can go ahead and pull that up. Get this off of there. Let's see. Where is it? I believe it is. Is it this one? Hang on, I just need to double check because I don't want to pull up the wrong 5749. Okay. Let's see if I can get it here. 5749. Here we go. So those last cars that were racing, those were pro stock, I believe, pro stock funny cars. I haven't learned all my terminology yet, but those cars were traveling in the 200 mile per hour range. But those first sets of cars that raced were routinely in the 300 plus mile per hour category. So it's just, and again, I don't know if the sound necessarily translates over video because, like I said, I've watched it on TV and it didn't really do it justice to what I saw and felt there at the races. But I will definitely be going back and highly recommend for anyone else that you should also check it out. And you know what? I think I want to see that one more time. I'm telling you, it was really something to see. I want to see it. I want to see it one more time. One more time. Let's get an encore presentation 5749. Just had to take another look. That was, yeah, it was something else. So, again, if you get a chance, to go, I would suggest you go and just check it out. The speed is just incredible. And I also learned there were a number of little fun facts because I was new. So there was a marketing representative who was kind of letting people know what the schedule was and how close the cars were to coming back on the track to race. And she was also giving me information, telling me things about the types of cars, about the races, about what I would see. And one of the things that she mentioned was that these cars, they don't burn gasoline. It's nitromethane. And there's a whole science behind that I won't get into, but she was saying that because before the races, you can walk around and see the crews working on the cars, getting them ready for the races. And they are making modifications and adjustments. Well, when they start the engines in the sort of mechanics bays, they are, there's for lack of better, the exhaust, the fumes from this nitromethane are coming off. And so she told me, hey, you can go around and you can look at the cars and you can talk to the mechanics and ask questions. And but when they start the engines, she said, you might not want to get too close because the fumes, the exhaust, will make your eyes start to water and you'll cry and all of that. And she said that, and I heard her, but I wasn't listening. And that's a big thing. I heard her, but I wasn't listening because I'm walking around, and then at the far end of this pit area, one of the crews started the engines on their car, and you could see the exhaust coming up, and there was a crowd of people, and people were kind of going that way. So I decided I was going to go that way, and I'm moving that direction. And then because of the way the wind is blowing, the fumes, there's like a cloud, a white cloud you can see coming towards me, and I'm walking towards it, and I can see people to my left and right who are already like wiping their eyes or turning away. Kids are, rubbing their eyes. But I kept walking further and further until I realized, like, I was clearly closer than my rookie NHRA eyes should have been. And all of a sudden, it was, think of like you're chopping onions, but a lot of onions all at the same time. And my eyes just got kind of a little itchy and just watery and started to burn. I was shooting a video, and I kept the camera on the mechanics, but at certain points the camera dips down, and when the camera dips down, it's because I'm wiping my eyes and trying to relieve some of the irritation. And one of the mechanics I saw, he had on a full gas mask, like the full hazardous material thing with the glass and the two filters on the end. But that was just another interesting note from yesterday. And so if you go to our Instagram account at AA Aerodynamics, you will see I'm going to be posting up video from yesterday, and once I sort of go through it, and I have more videos of races and pictures and a whole range of things that I am going to post. So if you're not already following us, then go ahead and follow us at AA Aerodynamics on Instagram, and you can be in the mix about what is coming up with All About Aerodynamics and At The Track Live. But here we are on this Sunday, At The Track Live. What is At The Track Live? I don't think I've explained it, and if this is your first time watching, welcome. But At The Track Live, before I take the cars into schools to let the students use them for the All About Aerodynamics project, I have to make sure that I know how many cars I'm taking into the school, so I make sure that I'm bringing back the same number of cars that I took in. And in order to do that, I have to catalog the cars. I have to put them into a spreadsheet. I have to number them. I have to add their names. I also put in the year the car that was manufactured, just as another way to track the cars. And doing all of that it's boring. It's kind of boring work. And like most Hot Wheels collectors, every time I go to a store, I pick up a new Hot Wheels car. If I see something that I like or that I think the students might like, then I pick it up and I put it in storage. And I can't bring those cars out of storage and take them to the schools until I've cataloged them. And cataloging them also means I have to take a picture and I have to take a video, because the students who are taking the course online are not going to have the opportunity to physically see the cars, so I have to give them an opportunity to see the full view of the car before they pick. And usually what I would do is just grab a bunch of cars out of storage, sit down, put something on TV, and just crack them open, take the picture, take the video, put them into the spreadsheet, etc. And it was boring. So I figured, how can I make something that I have to do, something that's interesting to do? And I came up with At The Track Live. At The Track Live, what I do is I go into storage, I pull out about 6 cars, I crack those open, we take a look at them, review those, and then after they're all opened, after they're all reviewed, then take them out to the track. And once they are at the track, we have a little mini tournament race and determine which car is that day's champion. That day's champion then gets to race our fastest in fleet car. What is the fastest in fleet car? The fastest in fleet car is the car that is the champion from the previous week. And that champion from the previous week, it means that it beat the top car coming out of that tournament. So, the cars that I introduced today, there will be 6. One will emerge as today's champion. That car will then have to go up against our fastest in fleet car, which at right now is this one. It is the Group C Fantasy car. And this car took out the previous fastest in fleet car, the Solar Reflex, it was just last week. And the Solar Reflex car had been fastest in fleet for maybe 2 weeks. And the Group C Fantasy car was an interesting race last week because it went up against this Millennium Falcon car, which is this one. The Millennium Falcon car was the fastest in fleet. It won the little mini tournament. But there was, for some reason, I think either I had to go somewhere or I think perhaps there were other viewers who suggested cars they wanted to see race. For whatever reason, we had our tournament, instead of 6 cars, it was 4 cars. The Millennium Falcon won. Well, it turns out I had a little more time than I thought I did. So I was like, yeah, why don't we introduce 2 more cars? So we brought in 2 more cars, and the Group C Fantasy was one of those cars. And when it ended up going head to head against the Millennium Falcon, it beat it. And it beat it and became the fastest in fleet champion. So this Millennium Falcon car has the unenviable distinction of being the shortest reigning fastest in fleet car that we have ever had here on At the Track Live. So the Millennium Falcon car was out after about 22 minutes of being fastest in fleet, and it was replaced by the Group C Fantasy car, which we'll see if how long that car can hold on to its title of being fastest in fleet. But we are going to introduce 6 cars that are going to challenge it. And in addition to those 6 cars, you have the opportunity to participate. That's the whole point of At the Track Live. The live aspect comes into play because if you go to AtTheTrack.live, you will be able to see 3 things. You'll see the YouTube link, you'll see the Twitch stream link, which you don't need because you're already here. But the third option is choose a car. And if you select that option, you will be taken to this page. And on this page, you can scroll through and you can see all of the cars that are currently in the All About Aerodynamics At the Track Live fleet. And from there, if you see a car that you think would be faster than one of the cars that I have just cracked open, all you have to do is take the number of the car and put it into the chat. I'll pull that car, we'll take it to the track and see if your car is faster than the car that I've just cracked open. So if you think that let's see, if you think that this 64 Chevelle SS is faster, you can click on it and it will show you a close-up view. You can see from the mirror whether it's a metal body on a plastic base or a plastic base on a metal body, one or the other. In this case, we've got metal body, plastic base. And if that's the car that you want to pick, all you have to do is take this number. In this case, it's 283. Take that number, drop it into the chat. I'll pull the car, and we will take it to the track and see if it can beat one of the cars that I have cracked open. And then, if you can beat the car that I've cracked open and the other cars that are introduced, then, and only then, will you get the opportunity to take on the fastest in fleet car, which, once again, is currently the Group C Fantasy, which is that car right there. And let's see something. That didn't really... I was checking with trying something with a different light. So the Group C Fantasy car is our fastest in fleet car, and that is the car that will be challenged by one of the 6 cars that we are going to introduce today. And currently in our fleet, we are up to, we're just over 600. In the last episode, we crossed over the 600 threshold, and there are now 604 cars in the All About Aerodynamics fleet. And some of the cars from last week, I was a little lazy, and I haven't entered them into, they're in the spreadsheet, but I haven't added them to the website. So you can't choose any of those 6, but still, you have well over 590 some odd cars to choose from. So if you can find one, all you have to do, drop the number in the chat. I'll pull the car, we'll race it. Now, let me move these cars from last week out of the way. Oh, I remember. We also had a. That's what we had last week. We had the. What are these cars called? The Twin Mill. The Twin Mill Gen E. and the Twin Mill 2. We had those cars race, and that was also, they raced the Squidward car from a couple of weeks ago, and that is why we only had 4 cars initially. So the Millennium Falcon, it was champion for a little while, for about 22 minutes, and then Group C Fantasy car came through. But now today we're going to see if one of the cars that we introduced will be able to take it out. So let's go ahead and see. We'll start with, let's start with this one. It is the Rally Cat, and it is just a standard basic fantasy car. However, it does have the gimmick best for track label, and that's been kind of hit or miss. We've had some cars where it has the best for track label and they do very well, and then some others where not so much. But we will crack this open, take a closer look, and see what the Rally Cat can do on the track. So let's see. Let's crack it open. Okay. So we've got the Rally Cat. Let's go ahead and take a closer look. It's kind of a bigger car, but let's check it out. Okay, so as it comes around here, I will lock in the focus, and we will be, let's get that lined up with the video right there. Okay, so this is the Rally Cat, and like most of the fantasy cars, you can kind of see where they took the inspiration from, in this case, other rally cars. Like I see a little bit of Mazda in there, a little bit of Nissan. But the real question is, how will it perform on the track? And that is the big question. So this is car number 605, and I didn't check the year yet. But also the back end is flat, more or less, which is good, although I think something is sticking off of the bumper a little bit. See that little ridge, that little bump right there? That is probably going to prevent it from backing up against the launching block. And as I've mentioned before, with these cars, what you want is for the launching block to press right up against the back of the car and then get pushed out. And the more surface area that touches the launching block, the more likely it is that the car is going to get a good push down the track and perform better. But so cars with a pointed back end or any kind of rounded back end or weird points like we saw in some of the Batmobiles doesn't really help give the car a good solid launch, but we'll see. All right, let me get a still picture here. Photo and zoom in. All right, and let me turn this just a bit. This is a bigger car, and I think that's pretty good. All right, lock in the focus. There we go. Boom. Okay, so we have the Rally Cat. Let me check the year. The year is 2017, and this car seems heavy. Let me weigh it. It's not too heavy. It comes in at 34.5 grams, and by comparison, the Group C Fantasy car, which is the current fastest in fleet, is 36.2. So the Group C Fantasy car is actually heavier than the Rally Cat. So there's something to keep in mind. Next up is 2017. Okay, so next up, we're still sticking with let's see, we're going with another fantasy car, and this is a complete fantasy car. This is the Scooby-Doo. Oh, it's green. It's a mystery. This is the Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo. And the reason why it looks like this is because there's a green screen behind me, and the car is green, so you're seeing right through it. So if we want to take a look at this, I'm going to have to crack this open, and we'll move it over to the turntable and take a look. So let's see, the Mystery Machine. Okay, and this one is interesting because it's so compact, but and it's tall, which is a little unusual. So here we go, the Mystery Machine. Not all that much to it. I think I'll take the still picture first. Right about there. And we've got our still picture. And now just need some video. And as it comes around, I will lock in this focus. And we will take a look at the Mystery Machine. And because of it's got a high profile, it's a little compact. I'm trying to think, perhaps the closest comparison to a vehicle that we've had featured to this point is probably the Minecraft minecart, that was this compact with the wheels this close together with this short of a wheelbase. The Mystery Machine. And because of the height of this, I'm not sure if I'm going to have to put on the raised acrylic cover. I don't know if this car, if it's balanced enough to even stay on the track. I was shocked that the Minecraft car was able to stay on the track. I had no belief that it was going to be able to do that, but somehow, some way, it did. And as a result, it ended up being one of our fastest cars, surprisingly, with the terrible aerodynamics and the small size and the wheels so close together. But this is probably, that car is probably the closest that I can think of in terms of the cars that we've raced, the closest to this. So we will see how this performs. I don't know what to think. If it crashed, I would be surprised. If it finished and was fast, I would also be surprised. I think the only thing that would not surprise me is, well, no, you know what? I take that back. I'm going to be surprised if this is fast, if this actually makes it down the track and is impressive enough to win at least one race. I will be shocked. I don't see a year. Oh, yeah, there it is. 2012. So we've got 2012 on the Mystery Machine. So let me enter that into the spreadsheet. And we are now moving on to car number 607. It's wild that There are 607 cars that I've gone through and cataloged, but that's what happened. Okay, so we've gone with the, we've had 2 fantasy cars in a row, which I don't mind. And actually, I'm going to weigh the mystery machine and see what's the weight on this thing. 50.5 grams. 50.5 grams for the mystery machine. I think the body is, the body is all metal, which is causing some of the issues, but 50.5 grams. This is going to be the heaviest car that has raced on our track. So keep that in mind. Heavy cars tend not to do as well. It's better for gravity track situations. The heavier cars tend to do better, but 50.5 grams is a lot. It's a whole lot. So I don't know. I really don't know. But next up, we are going to go with, let's go with this. So last week, we had this 1986 Ford F-150, and it did not win. and this is a Matchbox car, which typically I stick with the Hot Wheels cars. The Matchbox cars don't tend to be as fast, but there have been exceptions. But I just really liked this car, and so I picked it up. But now, so that F-150 didn't do very well on the track, but now we have an F-150 that could possibly do some damage, and it's this one. It is the Ford F-150 Lightning Custom, and it looks like it might be able to beat some other cars. It's definitely going to be faster than that previous F-150, but how fast will it be? Will it be fast enough to move ahead in today's tournament? I don't know. That's why we race. So let me crack this open. We'll take a closer look. Okay, so this car, or this truck rather, is pretty big and it's pretty heavy. So let's take a look here. A little close up. Get the got the video going. So this is car number 607. This is the Ford F-150 Lightning Custom. Okay. And I didn't check the year on that, but so the good thing that it's got going for it is that flat back end. That's always the first thing that I look for. That means it's going to get pressed up against the launching block. It should get a good solid push. And then there's a lot of stuff going on. This giant splitter and these flared sideboards and just a lot going on. And I don't know. I know there are F-150s, but I don't know if there's a racing version of this particular version of the F-150. But we have one here, and it will race. And we will find out what it's going to do. So let's go this way. And is the Lightning the electric version of the F-150? I think it might be, but that's only a matter of trivia here. Since cars don't have engines, it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's get this lined up. Get a good look at it. Make sure. I think that's good because the students will still be able to see the flat end in the back, which is key. Lock in that focus, and we have the Ford F-150 Lightning, now a part of the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet. What's the year on this? 2023. And I will check to see how much this weighs. So 2023, and the weight on this one is 39.7. So it's still significantly shorter or lighter than the Mystery Machine, even though in terms of size it is bigger. So I'll put these two right. Whoa, maybe I won't. Put these two side by side. You can take a look here and see how much bigger the F-150 is than the Mystery Machine, but the materials that the cars are made of matter, and the F-150 is a metal body sitting on a plastic base with a lot of plastic beneath it and rolled right off. And the Mystery Machine is metal. All that green part, all of this shell is metal, and that's what's giving it that weight. So we will find out how that all plays out, but that Ford F-150 is pretty light, so see how that, if that works for it or against it. Next up, I'm going to try one that I don't have any expectations that it will be fast, but it's the kind of car that I like to throw in because the students, certain fantasy design, the students gravitate towards those and choose those, and it's always interesting to put something in there that that's gonna catch their eye, and then the question becomes, are they going to select their car based on their new scientific knowledge and understanding, or are they going to just go with their gut and what appeals to them instinctually? And so I am adding in, the next car is this one. It is the Dogzilla, dog with a W, and it's just a fantasy off-road car. It's got the off-road tires, which is not going to help it on our track, but it is the next entrant into the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet. So let's crack this open, take a look. Okay, we have Dogzilla. Here we go. Let's take a look at this one. So as it comes around, lock in the focus, and I will shoot this video. And I will enter that into our spreadsheet. This is now car number 608. Dogzilla, DWGZILLA. And I didn't check the year yet. But, so it's metal on plastic. And I think if it didn't have those particular tires, I might have a little more hope for it. I don't think it will be faster than, say, the F-150, but it could possibly beat the Mystery Machine because the Mystery Machine is so heavy and such an odd shape that I don't know how it will perform. But typically the trucks that have those off-road tires like this Dogzilla they just don't do well. And I have my expectations for this car are very low, but I've been surprised before. All right, so we got that. Now let's get the photo and zoom in a bit right there. Let's see. Go here. And that will I think that will give them it's a pretty good view, lets them see most of the car, the important parts that they need to know, to take a look at. Right there. Get that straightened up just a little bit. Now take that picture. Good. All right, and let me check the year on this one. The year is 2015, and the weight is 32 grams. So right now, Dogzilla is actually the lightest car coming in, and it is metal on plastic, but there's so much plastic that it's really just the blue part that is metal, and you see all of this, the black part on the bottom, this reddish sort of burnt orange part is plastic, the top all plastic. So that is Dogzilla. How will it perform? I have no idea, but that's why we take the cars to the track. If you want to select a car that you think could beat Dogzilla, the Ford F-150, the Mystery Machine, or Rally Cat, then all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live. It will take you to this page. On this page, you can scroll through and you can see all of the cars that are currently in the All About Aerodynamics At The Track Live fleet. And if you see a car you think would be faster than Dogzilla, the Mystery Machine, the Ford F-150 Lightning, or the Rally Cat, all you have to do is select it. So maybe you think this Rockster number 188 is going to be faster. You click on it, you can take a look at it, get a close-up view, and then if that's still your pick, all you have to do is take this number, in this case 188, take that, drop it into the chat. I will pull the car, and once I've done that, then we will take it to the track and race it and see if you are correct, if your car, if your pick is in fact better than the car that I have pulled. And speaking of cars that I'm pulling, let's go ahead and take a look at the next car, which would be so we've gone fantasy car, reality car, fantasy car. I think it's time for a car based on an actual car, and it is this one. It is this weird popcorn. I mean, it says it's got branding for some kind of popcorn, Tom and Joe's Flaming Hot Popcorn. I don't know if that's a real brand or not, but nevertheless, this is an actual car. This is the Dodge Sidewinder, and we will crack this open and take a look. It's on the blue card, so that means it's late 90s, early 2000s, and it is 1989 is the year. So let's go ahead and crack this thing open, take a closer look. All right, here we go. The Dodge Sidewinder, which is, it's a little heavier than I would have anticipated, but nevertheless, here we go. The Dodge Sidewinder. There it is. Interested to know if this part in the back, this plastic, I wonder if this opens. No, it does not. Oh, well, does it? Or am I just pulling it off? No. Okay, I thought maybe this orange part, I thought maybe that opened up, and I was pulling on it and it started to lift up, but then I realized I was about to break it off, and it's not meant to open. So let's see what we have here. The Dodge Sidewinder. There's not really much to it. It's interesting. In the front, it looks like, kind of has the front grille of the Charger, and then it's got some, I don't know, it's like if you merged a PT Cruiser and a Charger and then decided to drop the top. This is what you would kind of end up with. So here we go, the Dodge Sidewinder. Let me get this still picture. Okay, we've got that, and now gotta get the video. And as it comes around, take a look at this thing, and you can definitely see the Charger in it right there. So we'll get this video. This is going to be car number 609. And this is, let's see, the Dodge Sidewinder. Okay. And it seems like a heavier car. It's definitely, it's metal on plastic, but the metal, there's a lot of metal. It seems heavy. So if I had to guess, I'd say it would be in the high 30s in terms of its weight, which would still make it lighter than the Mystery Machine. But, and then the back end is basically, it's got a little curve to it, slight, but it shouldn't be anything that prevents it from getting a good launch out of the starting gate. So this car should do okay. I don't know that it's, nothing about it strikes me as, makes me think this car is really going to be fast, but you never know, which I always say. It's why you have to race the cars. Let's see how much this one weighs. This one weighs 37.3 grams, so I was right. It's in the upper 30s in terms of weight. There is no year listed on this one, so I am going to have to look it up. I know I said 99, but that's what's on the package, and that doesn't always reflect the car. Okay, so let's see what we've got. We've got the Rally Cap, we've got the Mystery Machine, we've got the Ford F-150, we've got Dogzilla, and we've got the Dodge Sidewinder. I think the last car that we are going to introduce today will be this one, this Mad Mike Drift Attack car. And this Mad Mike, this mechanic, I know that they do custom cars. I don't know if this is a fantasy car that they put the Mad Mike branding on, or if this was some custom car that he worked on and his shop created. I do not know, but this is going to be the 6th car introduced today. So let's go ahead and crack it open, take a look. Okay, and this car, let's get it on the turntable, and let's take a closer look at the Mad Mike Drift Attack car. As it comes around, get it lined up a little better. Right there. Boom. Okay. So we've got the Mad Mike Drift Attack, and it's got this flat gray paint job with the silver accents, but more importantly, again, I always start at the back end of the car. What does the back end of the car look like? Because that is going to tell me how it's going to line up in the launcher and whether or not it's going to get a good push. Getting a good push is critical, because getting a good push means that the car is going to have an opportunity to, one, move fast, and it's also less likely to be pushed to one side or the other. And when the cars get pushed to one side or the other, they will hit one side of the track, and then they will put into effect Isaac Newton's third law of motion, that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, and they will begin to bounce back and forth from side to side on the track, and that slows them down. That friction slows them down. Mad Mike Drift Attack. Alright, it comes around here. Good looking car. If you're into this sort of fantasy, and I'm presuming it's a fantasy car, but it may just be an extremely modified something. I'd have to look it up and see. But let's go ahead and get the photo. Zoom in. And this is our sixth car. And so this is the last one for the day, and before we hit the track, let's see if I've got this kind of lined up. How's it looking? Back it up a little bit right there, and let me turn it just a bit. Okay, and looks good. All right, lock in the focus and get our picture. And there we have it. Mad Mike Drift Attack. And I didn't check the year on this one. The year is 2022. So, put that in. All right, so we have our 6 cars that are going to be racing. It is the Mad Mike Drift Attack. We have the Dodge Sidewinder. We have Dogzilla, the Ford F-150 Lightning, and the Mystery Machine. And we have the Rally Cat. So we've got our 6 cars. They are ready to go. Whichever of these 6 cars is the fastest in our little mini tournament that we are about to have, that car will then go up against the Group C Fantasy car. And the Group C Fantasy car is our current fastest in fleet car. And so, we'll see which car comes out on top. When we go to the track, this is what you will see. You will see a three camera view. Starting on the left side at the top, that is our start line, and that is where the cars will begin the race. I will give a countdown, 3, 2, 1, race, and then the cars will come flying out of the launcher, and they will come streaking toward the bottom of the screen on the left. And once they pass out of the bottom of the screen on the left, you can pick them up at the top of the screen in the middle, which is the middle section of our track. The cars will come flying through that section of the track from top to bottom. Once they pass out of the bottom of the middle section, you can then pick them up at the top of the far right screen, which is our finish line camera. The cars will come from top to bottom, and they will come flying across the finish line. Now, our finish line has an indicator that lets us know which car comes in first and which car comes in second. The first place car is indicated by a solid red light. The second place car is indicated by a flashing red light. So solid red light indicates the winner, flashing red light indicates the loser. And that is that. Our races are best 2 out of 3. And as a result of that, neither car or both cars have an opportunity to race out of either lane. So no car has any distinct advantage. If the cars crash twice consecutively, they're eliminated. Because typically, if a car crashes twice in a row, in the same place, in the same way, there's some problem either with the car or with the launch that they're getting, and it's not going to get better if we just rerun the races. If a car crashes once, we restart the race and rerun it. And so long as the car doesn't crash twice consecutively, it continues as if the first crash never even happened. So that is how the races are set up in a nutshell. I am going to gather up these cars, and I am going to head over to the track, and then we will get these races underway. So I will see you in about 30 seconds. Okay, just need to check the sound, make sure we're good. Always have to double check that. There's always a potential that a connection can come loose or something could happen, and we've got to have the sound. Sound is key. All right, everything looks good with the sound. So now we are ready to get this little mini tournament underway and see which car is going to challenge the Group C Fantasy car as our fastest in fleet. So let's see, where should we start? How about let's just begin with the one I'm most curious about, which is the Mystery Machine. So we'll have the Mystery Machine up against Dogzilla. These two big cars. Let's see. So the first thing I have to check is whether or not the Mystery Machine, no. So Dogzilla is tall enough that it's going to require us to go to the taller acrylic covering, and I created these acrylic coverings so that we can accommodate taller cars. Let's see. Is this even gonna, yeah. Can accommodate the taller cars, and yes. Okay, I'm just checking to make sure that these cars aren't too tall. So the acrylic covers prevent the cars from flying into the air, given all the force that is generated by the launcher. Uh-oh, we've run into a problem. Dogzilla, the tires are too wide, and it will not fit into our launch channel. Too wide. The tires are too wide, and therefore Dogzilla is out. It can't line up, and therefore it can't race. So Dogzilla is out. In its place, we will put the Ford F-150 Lightning, and it fits just barely. Okay, and it had that flat back end, which is always a plus, so it presses right up against the launching block, as does the Mystery Machine. Its back end is pretty flat, and it pressed right up against the launching block. So now the Ford is being a little temperamental, and it's moving forward instead of staying in place. Okay. So now the Ford, oh, come on, stay put. All right, the Ford is in place. The Mystery Machine is in place. So the Mystery Machine is in lane number 1. The Ford F-150 Lightning is in lane number 2. This is the first race. Again, the winning car is indicated by a solid red light. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Oh! Zoinks! The Mystery Machine pulls it out. That was a pretty close race. The Mystery Machine made it down the track, and it didn't crash. It did not have any issues. I thought the F-150 was going to catch it at the end, but it did not. And the Mystery Machine takes the first race. And so now for race number 2, the cars will switch lanes, and we will see what happens. Okay, so good job in that race. Good competitive race. This is what you like to see. And so now the Ford F-150 Lightning will be in lane number 1. And the Mystery Machine will be in lane number 2. Get the Ford pressed up. Okay. Both these cars are lined up and ready to go. The Mystery Machine has taken the first race, and it is in lane number 2. The Ford F-150 Lightning is in lane number 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, so the Ford F-150 Lightning takes that race. So now it is 1 race to 1. And we will go to a third and final race and see which of these cars is going to move on. Okay, and the Mystery Machine, again, remember that is one of the, not one of, that is it's the heaviest car that we've had compete on our track. So there is that to keep in mind, that the Mystery Machine is representing the heavier cars. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're switching sides again. We've got the Ford F-150 in lane 2 and the Mystery Machine in lane number 1. And there we go. The cars are ready to go. Mystery Machine lane 1, Ford in lane 2. This is the third and final race to see which of these two cars moves on. Here we go. Now I made a mistake. I bumped the cars. Let's get them lined up again. 3, 2, 1, race. Oh. The Ford F-150 pulled it out. The Mystery Machine had a bit of a lead, and then the Ford, you could tell, was just catching up to it, and eventually had enough track left to pass it. And that is one of the problems with the heavier cars. And it's something that we've observed every time we've raced a heavier car. And it's not always, we haven't had cars this heavy, 50 grams, but there have been heavier cars. And the heavier cars tend to slow down toward the back end of the track, and they get caught by the smaller, faster cars. That weight just serves to slow the cars down, and it does not help them at all. So, all right, next up, let's go with the Rally Cat versus the Dodge Sidewinder. So let me get those those two cars set up to race. And see what happens with those. All right, we'll put the Rally Cat in lane number 2. And the Dodge Sidewinder in lane number 1. Okay, so those cars are lined up. Let's see what happens. Dodge Sidewinder lane 1, Rally Cat lane 2. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. All right, so the Rally Cat slammed into a barrier right out of the launcher, and it crashed. So we will set up that race again, and it looked like the Sidewinder had no problems whatsoever. So that's a good sign if that's the car that you were expecting to win. Let me get this Rally Cat lined up again. And remember the Rally Cat, I was saying, there's like a little bump, a little kind of notch on the back bumper, and that is preventing it from getting making good solid contact with the launching block. And cars that don't have good contact with the launching block, don't have a lot of surface area touching the launching block, tend to get pushed one way or the other, and it doesn't help them at all. So here we go. Let's get this race set up again. The Sidewinder is in lane 1. The Rally Cat is in lane number 2, and here we go. Restart this race. Three, two, one, race. And the Sidewinder took it. The Rally Cat is put in a good showing, but not good enough. And we will now switch lanes and see if the Rally Cat can make up that difference. So, and force a third race. Let's switch things up here. The launching block set. The Rally Cat will be in lane number 1, and the Dodge Sidewinder is going to be in lane number 2. Okay, cars are all set up, ready to go. So here we go. This is race number 2. Three, two, one, race. Once again, the Rally Cat comes out of the gate and crashes. So, set that up one more time and see if the Rally Cat can stay on the track. So here we go. Let's get it set up again in lane number 1. Okay. Doesn't want to line up properly. Again, I think that bumper has something to do with it. It's got that little notch that's preventing it from pressing up against that launching block, and whether or not that's the cause for it, the 2 crashes it's had, I don't know, but it definitely is the first thing that I would look at, because it's usually not a good sign if you don't get a good solid push out of the launcher. So here we go. Let me get the Sidewinder set up again. Okay, cars are lined up again. We've got the Rally Cat in lane 1. We've got the Sidewinder in lane 2, and that means that we are set up for race number 2. And if the Sidewinder takes it, it will be moving on. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Okay, in a close race, the Rally Cat pulls it out. So we now have a 1-1 tie. The Rally Cat has come back from each of its crashes. It has not crashed consecutively, and that's the key point, because if it had crashed consecutively, it would have been disqualified, but it did not. It only crashed once, then it made it down the track and lost, then it crashed, and then it made it down the track and won. So, what is next for this car? Which of these cars is going to move on with the Ford F-150 Lightning to the next round? So, moving the Rally Cat back to lane 2. Dodge Sidewinder is going to be in lane number 1. And this is the third and final race to see which of these cars moves on. So Sidewinder lane 2, Rally Cat lane 2, Sidewinder lane 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Wow. And the Rally Cat wins. Now that was interesting, because the Sidewinder came out and it hit the barrier and it started to wobble. And the unfortunate part for the Sidewinder is it landed back on the track and continued down. So it didn't crash. It just hit the barrier, and then it landed back on the track. But that clearly slowed it down. It would have been better for the Sidewinder if it had crashed, because if it had crashed, then we would have restarted the race, and it would have had a chance to win, I think. But instead, it almost crashed, stayed on the track, but slowed down significantly, and therefore allowed the Rally Cat to move ahead and go on to the next round. So now we will have the Rally Cat versus the Mad Mike Drift Attack cars. So let me get these cars lined up. And here we go. So we will put the Rally Cat in lane number 1 and the Mad Mike Drift Attack car in lane number 2. So lane 1, lane 2. Here we go. Mad Mike lane 2, Rally Cat lane 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. The Rally Cat crashes yet again, flies over lane 2, and lands on the side of the track. Meanwhile, the Mad Mike drift car went down and had a pretty good run, but that is not what we are wanting to see. We want to see which of these cars is going to be fastest when they both make it down the track. So the Rally Cat has a history of crashing. That much has been established. It has crashed 3 times now, but it has not done it consecutively. And because it hasn't done it consecutively, it is still allowed to continue to race. So we will set it up again. Rally Cat in lane 1. And the Mad Mike Drift Attack car in lane 2. These cars lined up just right. And they are ready to go. And here we go. This is race number 2. Technically, it's race number 1. It's just we had to restart it because of the crash. If the Rally Cat crashes, that's it. It's disqualified. So here we go. I hope it can make it down because I don't want to have another car disqualified because of crashing. All right, here we go. Three, two, one, race. And of course, that's how it goes. So this time, it was the Mad Mike Drift Attack car that crashed. So the Rally Cat is in the clear. It went down the track just fine. But now, we have to worry about whether or not the Mad Mike Drift Attack car is going to make it. So let's go ahead and get these lined up again. Mad Mike Drift Attack. All right, we've got that car there. Now let me go get the Rally Cat, and we will see if it can mount a total comeback, because it crashed and then came back. So let's see what happens. This is still, we still haven't had one winner. This is still technically the first race. So let's get the Rally Cat lined up, lane 1 once again. And all right, here we go. Race 1 for the 3rd time. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. The Rally Cat rallied from behind because the Drift Attack car was in front, and towards the back end of the track, the Rally Cat just kept pushing, and eventually pushed right on past the Drift Attack car. So the Rally Cat is one win away from the finals. And it's interesting because I don't think the Rally Cat would have beaten the Dodge Sidewinder if the Sidewinder hadn't had that mishap where it crashed and hit the bumper and then came back on to the track. So I guess it doesn't hurt to be lucky in these races. Let's see, we're going to put the Rally Cat in lane number 2. And the Drift Attack car will be in lane number 1. And there we have it. So lane 1, Drift Attack, lane 2, Rally Cat, and we'll see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Wow. Okay, the Drift Attack car absolutely destroyed the Rally Cat. That race was not even close, so I don't know if the Rally Cat got a bad start or I don't know what to think, because that was impressive. So we will see. It's now 1-1, and the cars will switch lanes again, and then we'll see which car is going to move on to face the Ford F-150 Lightning in the finals. Okay, so we've got the Mad Mike Drift Attack car in lane number 2. We've got the Rally Cat in lane number 1. And we are going to see which of these two cars moves on. So Rally Cat lane 1, Mad Mike Drift Attack in lane 2, and let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. And what happened was the Rally Cat, in typical Rally Cat fashion, crashed. So we will restart that race. The Rally Cat blasted into the barrier, and that made a huge difference. So we will line them up once again and hope that the Rally Cat can actually stay on the track, because it has a history of crashing. But it has not crashed twice consecutively, which is amazing and interesting. But it needs to stay on the track, and it needs to win, because each of these cars has a win, and the winner will move on to face the Ford F-150. So here we go. Okay, here we go. Once again, the Rally Cat's in lane 1, the Mad Mike Drift Attack car is in lane 2. The Rally Cat needs to stay on the track in order to, it needs to stay on the track, and it needs to win. So if it crashes or if it loses, it's out. The only way forward is to win. So here we go. Three, two, one, race. And the Rally Cat is finally knocked out, and the Mad Mike Drift Attack car beat it handily and easily, which suggests that the first race that the Drift Attack car lost was probably more due to some kind of poor launch than it was due to the fact that the car may have been slow. So we are now set up for our final run. It is going to be the Ford F-150 Lightning versus the Mad Mike Drift Attack car. So we are going to line these things up and see what we get. Alright, so Mad Mike will be in lane number 1, or I'm sorry, in lane number 2. And the Ford F-150 Lightning will be in lane number 1. Presuming I can get it lined up correctly. Let's get it in there. Doesn't want to stay put. There we go. Okay, Ford F-150 Lightning in lane 1, Mad Mike Drift Attack lane 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. So the Ford F-150 Lightning takes the race, and therefore it is one win away from challenging the Group C Fantasy car. And I think the Ford F-150, it's funny because it's a bigger car, but it is very light. It is very light, and so that's something that's working in its favor, seemingly. So let's get these cars. Let's switch sides. Get them lined up again. Okay. So now we've got the Mad Mike Drift Attack car in lane number 1. The Ford Lightning, Ford F-150 Lightning in lane number 2. Alright, these cars are set up, they are ready to go, so here we go, race number 2. Three, two, one, race. Oh. So the Drift Attack car actually won that race, but you could see towards the end the Ford was trying to catch it, and I think if there had been maybe 3 feet more of track, then the Ford would have done it and would have beaten out the Drift Attack car, but there was not 3 extra feet of track, and the Ford proceeded to lose. So this is coming down to the third and final race. Each car has 1 win. We are going to get them lined up again. Okay, everything looks good there. So we're going to go with the Ford F-150. It's going to move over to lane number 1. And the Mad Mike Drift Attack car is going to be in lane number 2. Get the Ford. The Ford is funny. It doesn't always want to sit correctly in the launching area, but we are going to make sure that it's there because we've got to get a fair race. So it's pressed up against the launching block. Mad Mike is pressed up against the launching block. So this is it, the finals. We've got the Mad Mike Drift Attack car in lane 2, the Ford F-150 Lightning in lane 1. Let's see which car is going to be today's fastest, or today's All About Aerodynamics tournament winner on At The Track Live. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Race 3. 3, 2, 1, race. Oh! The Drift Attack car, it had the lead. It was in the lead. And then the Ford F-150, it came through at the end, the last third of the track. It just pulled up and passed the Drift Attack car. So we have our tournament winner for today. It is the Ford F-150 Lightning, and that is the car that will now challenge the Group C Fantasy car, our fastest in fleet car. And let's see here if we can get everything all set up. It will be, we'll put the Group C Fantasy car in lane number 2, and the Ford F-150 Lightning in lane number 1. So Group C Fantasy, our fastest in fleet car that took out the Millennium Falcon that was champion for about 20 minutes. And now we've got the Ford F-150 Lightning, which is very big but very light. So here we go. F-150 is in lane number 1. We've got the Group C Fantasy in lane number 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one. Oh, whoa, whoa. The F-150 pulled away from the launcher. Three, two, one, race. Group C Fantasy car took that race with ease, and we will now switch over and see if the F-150 Lightning can at least make the race competitive. That is the challenge in front of it, and we will see if it can meet that challenge. Okay. Get these cars lined up again. Okay, so now the Group C Fantasy car, our reigning fastest in fleet champion, is in lane 1, and the Ford F-150 Lightning is going to be in lane number 2. And once again, the Ford doesn't want to be cooperative and line up as it should against the launching block, but we're going to get it lined up. There we go. Okay, so here we go. Ford F-150 Lightning in lane 2, the Group C Fantasy car in lane 1. If the Group C Fantasy car wins, it will remain our fastest in fleet champion, and if the Ford can somehow pull out a victory, then we will go to a third race. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. Nope. It was a little closer. It was a lot closer. But the Group C fantasy car still pulled out the victory and remains our fastest in fleet champion. Let me gather up the cars, head back into the garage, and take a look at the winners and the results. So the Group C fantasy car faced a challenge, but nothing that it really needed to worry about. It was able to knock off the Ford F-150 Lightning with pretty much with ease and remain our fastest in fleet car. Now, if someone has a car they think would be faster than the Group C fantasy car, I don't know what car that would be, but maybe you think, I know a car that would be faster. Well, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live and get that on. There we go. Go to AtTheTrack.live, select choose a car. When you select choose a car, you will be taken to this page, and on this page you can scroll through. You can find a range of cars, whether it's fantasy cars, whether it is real cars, whether it is cars from the 70s and 80s, or whether it's cars from the 90s and 2000s and beyond. You can find those cars here. And when you find the car that you think would be faster than the Group C fantasy car, or one of the cars that I've already pulled, all you have to do is find the number of the car. So if you think it's this car, Iridium, you can click on it. You can see a close-up view of the car, say yes or no. And if that's the car that you end up wanting to pick, all you have to do is take this number right here, in this case 198. You take that, drop it into the chat. Once you do that, then I will pull the car, take it to the track, and we'll race it, and we'll see if you're right. We'll see if your car is faster or if the car that I've pulled is faster. And after I get done here, I am going to get to work, because there are, let's see, how many cars are listed here? I have to add cars to the website, because the number of cars that are here is currently 598. There are now 610 cars that are a part of the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet. So I have to add in, I've got 12 cars to add in. So I have some work to do. But after today, those additional 12 cars will be added in. There will be 610 cars for you to choose from. Whichever car you think is going to be faster than the Group C fantasy car, our current fastest in fleet champion, or faster than the cars that I have cracked open. All you have to do, take that number, put it in. I will pull the cars and we will race them live on At The Track Live. That's the whole idea. That's what it's all about. So another look at our fastest in fleet car, our champion, the Group C fantasy car. And so this Sunday edition, as I mentioned, because I was at the NHRA Winternationals in Pomona, California. Because of that, we moved At The Track Live from Saturday to Sunday. But we will be back, not this coming Saturday, because I'll also be out of town. So we may end up being another Sunday edition, which is fine, and then we'll get back on the regular schedule beginning in April, which is Saturday at 11 a.m. But for all the changes, for all the updates, all you should do is follow us at AA Aerodynamics on Instagram, and in the story and in the post, that is where I will list any updates, any changes. You can also go to AtTheTrack.live, scroll down, and there's a calendar. That calendar will show when each live broadcast is going to be. But back to Instagram, I always post a countdown timer to the next show and a link to the AtTheTrack.live site where you can choose your car and where you can find the stream. I post those links in the story a day before the races happen. So the best bet is to just follow All About Aerodynamics on Instagram, and then you'll be sure not to miss anything. If you want to watch past episodes of At The Track Live, you can go to our YouTube channel and click on the Live tab, and all the episodes will be listed. I am going through and adding in time codes, so if you just want to watch the reviews, you can do that. If you want to jump right to the races, you can do that. Or if you want to watch the entire episode, you're more than welcome to do that. So I think that is all that we've got. We've got 6 new cars. We've got our same fastest in fleet champion. I will be back next week with 6 more cars, and hopefully perhaps you can pick a car that can become our new fastest in fleet champion. So I'll wait for that to happen. But in the meantime, I am Coach James for All About Aerodynamics and At The Track Live. And until next time, I'll see you at the races.